My name is David Tran, a Vietnamese American living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was an evening in early February 2025, the air biting cold, the kind of harsh winter chill typical of the Midwest United States. I had just finished watching the weather report on TV. They said this year's weather might be unusual with storms arriving earlier than expected. I didn't think much of it, figuring tornadoes usually hit in the spring, not now in early winter. Nothing to worry about, I told myself. I turned off the TV, climbed the stairs to my small second-floor bedroom, pulled the blankets tight around me, and closed my eyes, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep after a long day at the auto repair shop. But that night, peace was nowhere to be found. I remember the feeling vividly. My body seemed to lighten as if I were drifting away from the creaky old bed I'd slept in for the past 5 years. I thought I was dreaming, because everything felt so real yet tinged with a strange, otherworldly hue, unlike the reality I knew. I heard the wind, not the gentle winter breeze slipping through the window cracks, but a deep, roaring sound, like something massive was approaching. I opened my eyes in that dream, and what I saw was something I'd never forget. I found myself standing in the middle of a vast field, dry grass crunching under my old work boots. The sky above was pitch black, not the soft gray of a cold, winter day, but a thick, inky darkness that seemed to swallow the world. In the distance, I saw a towering tornado, hundreds of meters high, spinning furiously with unstoppable force. It swept up dirt, brittle branches, and debris from houses I didn't recognize. I stood there frozen, staring as my heart pounded. In my chest, my breath forming white puffs in the frigid air. I tried to run, but my legs felt cemented to the hard ground. The wind drowned out my own screams, and a blast of icy air whipped across my face, sending my hair into a frenzy. The tornado drew closer, and I saw birds sucked into the sky, cars tossed like children's toys. The earth trembled beneath me, cracking in small fissures, as if the world itself was breaking apart. I watched a wooden house, similar to the ones dotting Tulsa's outskirts, get ripped to shreds, shingles flying everywhere, windows shattering into pieces. I heard the crash of glass, the snap of timber, and somewhere faintly a cry from someone I couldn't see. I told myself it must be a dream. Maybe I'd watched too many news reports about weird weather lately, or the February chill had scrambled my mind into conjuring up something bizarre, but it felt too real. I could smell the damp earth being churned up, feel the tiny specks of dust pelting my face. The tornado was now just a few hundred meters away, and I could see every swirling detail, every piece of debris caught in its grip. I screamed again, but no one heard. I felt helpless, insignificant against the terrifying power of nature. Then suddenly, amid the wind's roar, I heard a voice. It didn't come from anywhere around me, not from a person standing nearby, but echoed inside my head, cutting through the chaos. The voice was deep, commanding, and carried an authority I couldn't describe. Look upon this. This is my wrath. Warn them before it's too late. I tilted my head up, searching for the source. Through the thick black clouds, a beam of light broke through. Not sunlight, but something else. Holy, warm yet brimming with power. I stood there, terrified, yet awestruck. I didn't understand why David Tran, just an ordinary mechanic from Tulsa, was hearing this voice, seeing this vision. The tornado still raged in front of me, but I stopped trying to run. I watched it, its ferocious spirals, the debris soaring through the air. I saw a bicycle get swept up, dangling mid-air like a forgotten toy. I saw a traffic sign, maybe from Highway 66 near my house, bent and twisted, its words blurred by the wind. I saw bare branches snap off, leaves scattering like rain. I started to wonder, could this be a sign? I knew February wasn't prime tornado season in Oklahoma. Those usually hit in April or May. But this year's weather had been odd. The news mentioned El Niño might throw everything off, bringing storms earlier than usual. I thought back to stories my dad, a man who'd survived typhoons in Vietnam before coming to America, used to tell me about unexpected storms. But this wasn't Vietnam. This was Tulsa, where tornadoes weren't supposed to strike in the dead of winter. So why was I seeing this now, in the freezing grip of February? The more I thought, the colder I felt. Not just from the winter air, but from a chill creeping down my spine. The tornado was so close now I could feel its pull, as if it wanted to drag me into its chaotic heart. I saw a red pickup truck like the old Ford I often fixed at the shop get yanked into the air, tumbling end over end before vanishing into the black clouds. I saw a wooden door fly past, nearly hitting my head, but I couldn't dodge it. Just stood there transfixed. The voice spoke again, clearer this time. "David, remember this. This is not your dream. This is a warning." I jolted because now it called my name. I whipped my head around, desperate to see who was speaking, but there was no one, just me and the tornado. My heart raced faster, sweat beading on my forehead despite the biting cold. I wanted to wake up to escape this dream, but I couldn't. I was trapped, caught in something far bigger than myself. The tornado was now only a few dozen meters away from me, its roar threatening to tear my eardrums apart. I felt its terrifying pull as if it was dragging me into the heart of destruction. Debris flew past my face, a wooden plank from a fence, a shattered window pane, and even a tattered doll that I was sure I had seen somewhere in my neighborhood. I no longer screamed, not because I wasn't afraid, but because I had no strength left. My breath came in ragged gasps, my hands trembled in the cold February air, and then everything happened too fast. The tornado slammed into me. I felt my body lifted off the ground, not in the gentle way of dreams, but with a violent, forceful pull, as if I were a leaf caught in a storm. The world spun around me, images flashing by so quickly that I couldn't fully grasp them. I saw a house being torn apart, its roof flying like paper, its walls crumbling like dust. I saw a truck, maybe the red Ford I had just been thinking about, flipping through the air, its metal frame bending like a cheap toy. I saw a woman, her face blurred, clutching a child and screaming in terror before they were swallowed by the wind. I didn't know who she was, but her scream echoed in my mind, sharp as a knife. I thought I was going to die. No, I was certain I was dying. I felt my body being torn apart, yet strangely there was no pain. No blood, no wounds, just an odd sensation, as if I were dissolving, merging with the storm. Then suddenly everything stopped. The wind vanished, the chaos ceased, and I found myself floating in the air. I looked down, and what I saw made my heart stop. Below me was my own body lying motionless in the field. My face was covered in dust, my eyes shut, my mouth slightly open as if gasping for breath. Blood trickled from a cut on my forehead, but the me that was floating, felt nothing at all. Panic surged through me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I reached for my face, but my hands passed right through it as if I were nothing but a ghost. I looked down again at my body, lying still amid the wreckage left by the tornado. The storm was still there, raging close by, yet it no longer affected me. I felt weightless, as if every worry, every fear in the world had disappeared. I heard my own heartbeat, slowing, then stopping. I thought, this is it. I am dead, in the freezing February of Tulsa, in a tornado no one saw coming. But the story didn't end there. As I stared at my lifeless body, I felt another pull, not from the tornado, but from somewhere above. I lifted my gaze, and before me was a tunnel of brilliant light, so dazzling that I had to squint. I couldn't resist it. My body, or my soul, I wasn't sure, was being drawn into it. I floated through the tunnel, moving at an unimaginable speed, yet I felt no fear. The wind, the tornado, the screams, all of it faded away, replaced by an eerie silence, as if I had left the world behind. At the end of the tunnel, I saw something I never could have imagined. A vast field of flowers, unlike any I had ever seen in Oklahoma or anywhere on Earth. The flowers emitted a soft glow, not the bright colors of tulips or roses, but a pearlescent shimmer, like moonlight on water. The air was filled with a sweet, pure fragrance unlike any flower scent I had ever known, filling me with an overwhelming sense of peace. In the distance, I heard singing, not human voices but a celestial chorus, echoing from all directions, gentle yet powerful. I walked through the field, though my feet never touched the ground. I was gliding. I looked around, trying to understand where I was. Far ahead, I saw a figure. Not clear, not defined, just a silhouette of light standing in the midst of the field. I felt warmth radiating from it, a presence that was both commanding and comforting. And then, a voice, deep and resonant, spoke inside me. "David, have you seen?" The voice rang out again, this time not just in my mind but from the figure itself. I turned back to look at my body in the field, but it was gone. I was here, alone, in this strange place, with this radiant being. The voice continued, slow and solemn. "This is a warning, David. My wrath will come sooner than you think. This February, Tulsa will not be at peace. Go back. Tell them to prepare." I wanted to ask why. Why me? Why Tulsa? But I couldn't speak. The figure raised its hand, and a warm light surrounded me. The singing grew louder, pulling me in, but then the voice spoke one last time. "Your mission is not over. Go back." I didn't have time to understand what was happening, nor did I have time to ask why I had to go back before I felt a powerful force pulling me backward. It was as if something was yanking me away with overwhelming strength. The brilliant white light of the flower field began to fade. The gentle singing grew distant, and I was sucked back into the glowing tunnel I had passed through before. I felt the weight of my body returning, as if I was being trapped inside a tight shell. I could hear the sound of my heartbeat, not the slow, steady rhythm from before, but frantic and chaotic, as if it was struggling to come back to life. Then I opened my eyes. But I was no longer in the field of flowers, nor was I in the cold, desolate wasteland with roaring tornadoes. I found myself lying on the cold wooden floor of the small upstairs room in the old house in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My head throbbed with pain as if someone had struck me hard, and I felt a warm liquid trickling down my forehead. Blood, I thought. I heard screaming, not the cries from my dream, but real, urgent screaming, right next to me. I turned my head, my vision blurry from pain, and saw my mother, Mrs. Lynn, kneeling beside me, her face streaked with tears, clutching me tightly. "David, David, you're awake. Oh my God, you scared me to death," she cried out, her voice trembling, half sobbing, half laughing. I panicked, trying to sit up, but my body was too weak to move. "Mom, what happened?" I croaked, my voice hoarse as if I hadn't spoken in ages. My mother held me even tighter, her tears soaking my shirt as she choked out, "You were convulsing terribly, David. You fell out of bed, your eyes rolled back, and then you stopped breathing for almost 2 minutes. I shook you, called your name, but you didn't wake up. I thought I lost you." I was stunned, my mind spinning. I looked around and saw my father, Mr. Hung, standing at the doorway holding his phone, his face pale as if he had just called for an ambulance. He stepped forward, his voice shaky. "Your mother's right. You stopped breathing, David. I don't know what happened, but for 2 minutes, you were gone." A chill ran through me. Not because of the cold February air seeping through the window, but because of what I had just heard. I looked at my mother, then my father, then down at my hands. My fingers were trembling, my nails tinged with blue as if they had been starved of oxygen. I touched my forehead, feeling a small cut still bleeding, probably from hitting the edge of the table when I collapsed. My mind started piecing everything together. The howling tornadoes, the commanding voice, the flower field, the shadowy figure. It wasn't a dream. I had died, truly died, even if only for 2 minutes, and what I saw was real. I sat there leaning against my mother, trying to catch my breath. My head still ached, but my mind had never been clearer. I remembered the voice. "My wrath will come sooner than you think. Tulsa will not be safe. Warn them." I looked out the bar window, seeing the calm February night sky. No clouds, no sign of a storm. But deep inside, I knew that what I had seen wasn't random. I turned to my mother and asked softly, "Mom, when I was convulsing, did I say anything?" She shook her head, wiping her tears. "No, you were just shaking, and then you went still." "Why, David?" I didn't answer right away, just stayed silent because I knew the answer was in my mind, not in my words at that moment. I started thinking about everything. David Tran, just an ordinary mechanic in Tulsa, had experienced something beyond belief. I had seen the tornadoes, heard a warning from a voice I believed was God's, and had been pulled back from death. I recalled the weather report I had watched before bed. They had mentioned that this year's El Niño could bring early storms to the Midwest, even in February, before tornado season officially began. I remembered the stories my father told about sudden storms in Vietnam, and I wondered, was Tulsa, my lifelong home, truly about to face a disaster? I looked at my parents, who were still anxiously watching me, and I knew I had to say something. "Mom, Dad, I think I just had a vision," I said, my voice still weak but firm. "I saw tornadoes right here in Tulsa, and I heard a voice telling me to warn people. I don't know when it will happen, but I believe it will be soon. Maybe even this February." My mother stared at me, her eyes wide. "David, are you sure it could just be—" She hesitated, unwilling to say a dream, because she had just witnessed me stop breathing. My father placed a hand on my shoulder, his voice low. "If you believe it's real, then do what you have to do. But for now, get some rest. You just went through something terrible." I nodded, but in my heart I knew I couldn't rest. I had a mission, not just for myself, but for my family, for Tulsa, and maybe even for others in America. I thought about the tornadoes that had devastated Oklahoma before, the 1999 Moore tornado that killed dozens, or the 2011 Joplin tornado that flattened an entire town. If this warning was real, if Tulsa was truly facing an early tornado this February, I couldn't stay silent. I had to speak up. I had to do something. I sat quietly on my bed, staring at the dim yellow light in the room, my mind still reeling from what had just happened. My parents were still in shock, but it seemed they too could sense the seriousness of my words. My father sat down on a nearby chair, letting out a heavy sigh. My mother still held my hand tightly, her eyes swollen from crying. "I believe this is not just a dream, but a real warning," I said, my voice hoarse but firm. "This April, a tornado could strike at any moment. God wants us to prepare, not just physically, but spiritually. We must live better, care for one another more before it's too late." My father remained silent, but I could see he was deep in thought. He had always been a practical man, not easily convinced by supernatural things. But this time, he did not dismiss it. He simply asked one straightforward question: "What do you plan to do next, David?" I looked at him, then at my mother. A tornado could destroy everything, not just homes, but lives. If Tulsa was truly about to face a disaster, I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. But how could I warn people without being seen as crazy? Then I suddenly thought of YouTube. "I'm going to share this online," I said. "I'll post a video. Some people might laugh at me, but if even one person listens and prepares, then it will be worth it." My father nodded slowly, as if carefully considering my words. My mother still looked worried, but she knew I had made up my mind. I stood up, still feeling weak but with a newfound sense of purpose. I grabbed my phone, turned on the camera, and looked straight into the screen. My face was pale, my eyes still carrying traces of what I had just experienced. I took a deep breath, then pressed record. "What do you think about this warning?" I said, keeping my voice low but steady. "Leave a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep track of the signs together." I stopped the video, my fingers trembling slightly as I hit upload. Once it was online, there was no turning back. But I had no regrets. Outside the window, the Tulsa night sky remained calm. But deep inside, I knew the storm had already begun.